The second season of ReZero has had every single episode my jaw basically what I would assume to be on the floor, with my eyes just bug-eyed glued to the screen at all the information that's being thrown our way. And there really hasn't been that many big shocking moments per se besides the Who's Rem content, but at the same time it feels like it's just as exhilarating as any of the brutality that we've experienced in the first season, because all the information that's basically being thrown our way, it feels overwhelming in the best possible sense, as if as we get answers and we get things that we've been wondering about kind of revealed for a while, it feels like 100 new things are getting thrown our way, and it doesn't give us time to breathe and collect ourselves. But because Subaru's in a situation that's honestly a lot better than what we're used to, where you have someone like Amelia actually being like, it's okay, you're not pathetic, you're okay, we're gonna do this together, I don't know who this Rem person is, she's important to you, we will solve this. It really does make the overwhelming feeling feel like it's possible, which I know is going to make the tragicness all the more painful than probably we've ever seen before, because honestly Season 2 is setting us up to feel safe in certain ways, where if this was something like towards the end of Season 1, we'd feel like it's kind of hopeless because look at that damn whale. Whereas Season 2, there's a lot of uncertainty. We're in a witch's graveyard, for goddamn sakes. We had a casual tea party with a witch, who turned out to be one of the most adorable characters ReZero has seen to date, but I mean, there's something about adorableness and just kind of crazy evil that this series is pretty damn good at. So it feels to me like we're building up to something here. Like the fact that only Amelia should have been able to enter this trial, but Subaru could, and most likely has something to do with how he was teleported into this world, is what I'm thinking. I don't think it's simply because of the whole witch factor that he now has. I think it's probably a mixture of that and him being chosen to be in this world. I really feel like that's probably the direction they're going, but still, it feels like something big's about to happen, and I don't know exactly what. I mean, the episode ends with him waking up in his original world. It basically was directed as if, you have to face your past. This is like a dream sequence, almost like, Luke Skywalker training with the Force, facing his fears, things like that. I feel like they're going that direction. The dad, though, I have to say, was not what I was expecting, but I can understand maybe why you were a shut-in if that was your father, in terms of just the embarrassment. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what they're going to do next week, because if they're really going to take a majority of the episode in a more normal situation, I'm curious, one, how fans would react to that, but two, what ReZero is actually building up to, because if we're going kind of seemingly normal for a bit, it probably means we're going to get hit by a freight train with insanity quite soon, and I don't think we're going to be able to see it coming. Even if we're on our toes being like, it's going to happen, we're not going to see it coming. I think one of the best examples of that is honestly Garf in this episode. We get introduced to a boy who I thought, like by a visual glance, we know who he was, because the teeth kind of gave it away. But truth be told, I think there was about 4 times I switched my opinion on this character. It started off, I was like, oh, this is a bad boy, we gotta take him out. And then it kind of switched to, oh, misunderstanding, probably just, he has a bit of an extreme personality, but I mean, look at our main character, Subaru. That's extreme, so I can't really judge him. And then it looked like, oh, you're putting everyone under house arrest. I can't trust you. My initial reaction was right, to then feeling like he was a victim himself because he couldn't take the trial, and he would have took the trial and not done everything he did had he had another option. So it's very fun to have Season 2 not let me really know or trust in any of my initial feelings, because at any moment someone could betray Subaru and the gang, and I honestly only trust Subaru in this show at this point in time, minus Rem, but Rem's kind of out of commission because of everything that's happened. Even characters like Amelia, we don't know exactly what she is and who she represents. That's why she doesn't give a 100% concrete answer towards the end of the episode. She can just be honest about what she does know. She could turn out to actually be the most evil character in this series, and some sort of curse or lock that's in place that gave her a different personality. We don't know, but you want to just believe in the situation at hand, and when a situation switches around and shifts around so much in the span of less than 20 minutes, it does cause your brain to race and not really know what to feel, and that's what makes the introduction to new characters in Season 2 so fun, is that you get characters like Garf who are an extreme personality and naturally mesh quite well with someone like Subaru, but that extreme personality could very easily be a villain, so you don't really know what to do because some of these characters on a visual glance look absolutely evil and turn out to be some of the nicest characters we've met. Like Ekidana herself, I don't know what to feel. I love the character, but I don't know what to feel. The whole Witch's Tea Party was something just so weird, and I love it. It's probably one of the best ReZero moments right now, and I'm saying across both Season 1 and 2 so far. There's something about just being summoned and basically being like, hey, I'm a witch, and then just as you're basically having your casual chit-chat, She's like, here, have some tea. Subaru, without a second glance, drinks the tea because he's like, hey, I would have bursted into flames if you really want me dead. Let's just get this done. And then she starts dropping such powerful information, giving a history lesson of the witches, and my mind was racing just as much as he was, and I can only imagine the pain of that information, as seen by his mind seemingly shattering and the distortion effects that they were doing. It was pretty extreme, and she's talking about all the witches that died, and how it's like, okay, so what the hell's happening here? If you're dead, why are you here? And it seemingly is a graveyard of some sorts, and then the tea kicks in, and I'm like, so you didn't poison him, but then you did poison him? It just had me on such edge that I didn't know what to expect, because this isn't a show where the big bad villains are always going to look big bad and, you know, they're going to talk evil about their world plans and things like that. A character acting cutesy and drinking tea with her enemies is very possible in the world of ReZero, so that's when she started being cute. I didn't trust her. But towards the end of the whole conversation, the fact that the tea was basically to allow for the information to happen and for them to have a chit-chat, and Subaru's like, yeah, I don't give a shit here, I gotta go back to my girl. And just the flusteredness, like, that was something that I wasn't expecting to enjoy had you explained to me and spoiled me that this was gonna happen. If you were to say that Subaru is going to come into contact with a witch, and she was going to get flustered as if she wanted to talk to a boy, and this boy wanted to talk to a different girl, and he promised that he would talk to her later, and that she could be a potential side piece later, I would have said no, that's not going to work out. Yet ReZero, what they managed to do was they made it feel almost like this is a character that just because someone has witch in their name doesn't necessarily mean they're evil, but at the same time, they could be. It feels almost so cold and isolated in this beautiful field, but just so empty. And when you learn about how the sanctuary is literally the witch's graveyard, it starts making sense why she would be so determined to talk to someone who apparently is quite special, but also probably has maybe a solution for maybe something that she feels cursed by, or maybe she can manipulate if she's on the more enemy side. It's hard to tell, but that's why their conversation was so interesting, because the majority of it kept you on your edge, because yeah, she was laughing and she was like kind of flirting around, but like Subaru, you're kind of like, I don't know what's happening here and we need to escape. But when he actually started walking away, that's when I realized, I was like, that wasn't just a simple act, that's who she is, and that's so fascinating for a witch, especially considering the evil we've dealt with, Twist or Rem Edition, things like that. So I really hope we get that conversation sooner rather than later, because that tea party was just a small taste, and I want the whole pot of tea. There's a lot I want Subaru to ask. I understand why he rushed away from it, because, you know, he passed out, Amelia passed out. It's kind of understandable why he would be so interested in seeing if she's okay, not knowing how time works in this weird realm if it's the same time frame. It totally makes sense. It's not something that I think you should criticize Subaru for. He was actually being the most logical. I'm not going to waste my time talking with a witch when seemingly, like, the person that I'm literally fighting for could be dying, because I don't know what the hell's happening in Sanctuary. And speaking of Sanctuary, holy shit, this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting something more like a forest with, like, you know, kind of like a majestic scene, almost like when Amelia was like starting the trial and you saw all the glowing lights. I was expecting something like that, like in a forest, just a lot of glowing effects, things like that. And basically it just looks like a slave market. It just looks like half-bloods just all over, just poor and starving. And I'm like, what the hell is going on in ReZero? And then we see our boy Roswell, and I'm like, this boy is so destroyed that Subaru can't even get his anger out because he feels bad for the person who he's pissed off with. There's something going on in the world of ReZero, and I don't know where they're going to take it, and it definitely feels like this second season is building up to so many answers, but then to give us all the more questions, and that's really, really fantastic, especially considering the voice actors, I feel like, are even more impressive this season than last season. Like, the whole idea of something I've always loved about Subaru is how he breaks and gets destroyed, anger or sorrow. It's really, really great. But something that Subaru's been doing in the second season, because he's actually had aid and support from Amelia, is how he's nervous, he's sad. He's not so sad that he's breaking down crying, but he's just distraught. And those moments where he's just like, he wants to tell Rem about what happened to Rem, but, you know, she didn't even ask about Rem because she doesn't remember. It hurts him, it crushes him. He's not on the floor crying, but he feels so alone. And that's why I like moments where Amelia's like, hey, we got this. It feels so rewarding and so different, and it really does make me have to compliment the author for not going the route of just keeping the suffering in the same way we've seen before, of just, Subaru has to do it alone, Subaru has to do it alone. He succeeds and then he has to do it alone. Rather, he should naturally be able to form connections, even having to reset as much as he does. There's eventually going to be certain connections that will be saved in a lock point, and it's nice that he doesn't simply have to just rely on Rem or himself. He can actually start spreading basically his concerns with the people that he's actually repaired the relationships that he's fought so hard to protect, and that's a really important feat that Season 2 should be complimented for. I've always loved the body reactions in ReZero, and just stuff like Amelia being really nervous about talking to the people who have shunned her away all her life, and how it was such a beautiful scene because Subaru did the same thing that she did for him, encouraged her to say, you got this, and really say, I don't know what I am, I understand your fears, I'm not doing this for a royal selection, I just want families to be together. And that's why it doesn't feel like a very cliche, oh, everyone wants to be friends, but rather, everyone's scared in this situation. There's so much happening, they've had to flee their village, they've had to fight for their life, and now someone who they used to fear is saying, I want to help you, and has always bowed down to us. Just tell us, can we trust you? And she gave an honest answer, and that's why that whole friendship scene didn't feel cliche, but honestly rather realistic for what was happening, and probably would happen should normal people be put in a situation surrounded by some supernatural elements. That's why ReZero's second season is just hitting it out of the park, and I can only imagine what this trial is going to endure. Like, there's going to be a lot happening, and I think we're going to have to see a lot of insanity, and I feel like things are going to get crazy, especially considering that opening song is kind of insane, seeing how Subaru is running, and just, it looks painful, and I'm not sure how many resets we're going to have to see. I got asked that, I think it was last week, hey, what do you think's going to happen? You think there's going to be like a lot of death in this, or what's going to go down? I honestly don't know, because ReZero's never made the focus simply on the deaths and resets, but rather Subaru's suffering in terms of how he deals with consequences. And you could have an insanely long arc without a single reset and just have him continue to mess up and have that be exhilarating, or simply just have a lot of information and uncertainty and have that be exciting. Or you could have him die a bunch of times. Either way, it's going to be amazing, and I know they're going to hit it out of the park. But as always, I pass the torch over to you. What did you think of this very impressive episode of ReZero? The Garf content, the Roswell content, the whole Witch's Tea Party, which was extraordinary, Witch's Graveyard, the trial, just everything. Let me know your feelings down below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.